Hello, welcome to the Silver Eagle News Network. We're on location. We don't have a Silver Eagle News Network microphone, do we, Jane?
We're on location in the kitchen.
Yeah, we're on location in the dining room. It's a small farmhouse, what can I say? Anyway, we appreciate each and every one of you coming. You are the smartest audience in the world. You pray for President Trump's safety every night at 9 p.m. You pray that those who would destroy the United States of America and our freedom are removed from this planet, and they are being removed from this planet. According to Jim Willey and Benjamin Fulford, the White Hats are in full swing now. You cannot negotiate with evil. Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York, did the unthinkable. He told the Jews, the time of negotiation is over. Those are the very words Adolf Hitler used before he began arresting the Jews. The Jews have been through the concentration camps. The Soviets were put in the same concentration camps. The American POWs were put there, although the news media suppressed it after about 1950. And they came up with this joking Hogan's Heroes thing. All the prisoners of war were sent to concentration camps, although they were supposed to be separate. The ones who didn't exactly like the Nazis were sent to the concentration camps, and they were used as slave labor until they couldn't walk anymore, and then they were gassed. That's how it worked, Jane. If you couldn't work for the Nazis, you were killed. And so, and there was a lot of typhoid outbreak, and they had to burn them in the ovens. They know what it's like. They know what the number on their arm means. They know what this means. They know inherently what being tattooed means. So when they start talking about vaccinating us to chip us, the Jews and the American POWs and their children and the Russian POWs and their children know exactly what being marked means. It means you're a dead man. So Bill de Blasio told the Jews this morning, the time of negotiation is over. We'll explain that in a minute. First of all, we're having the Franklin coffee with the multi-collagen in it. And the best endorsement I can give, I can say it does this and I can say it does that. And it does do all those things that are listed on the internet. There's no question that it helps with wrinkles. There's no question that it helps me bounce off the wall. I'm still bouncing off the wall, Jane said this morning. But you get all your energy. So, I'm having my Franklin coffee because I can have iced coffee. But with the iced coffee, you got to stir the multi-collagen a little more. There's no flavor. You just put it in everything you eat. And as they shut down the protein plants around the country, I know Trump's trying to bring them back. He just ordered under the defense some DP law that they can't shut down. But you know what? They're private companies. They can do whatever they want. So where did we get to the point where the New York mayor and the mayor of New York State are now willing to arrest the Jews? Well, first of all, they gave the Nazi orders that everybody stays in their home. The same thing Adolf Hitler did. Cut off the food, bring in the stormtroopers, put everybody in the army. You will obey. We have a vase. Where are your papers? You must show me your papers. You must show me your papers. Where are your papers? This is where Bill de Blasio's at. Show me your papers. We need your papers. That's exactly what... Go ahead, Jane.
So tell them about the funeral.
So the Jews have been defying the Nazi orders for a long time because they don't want to see concentration camps. They don't want to be marked again. So they decided to have a funeral and walk through the streets. And de Blasio said, and they declared war on Nazism. Not the Jewish organizations in America that suck off the Democratic Party in Congress, but the real Jews. The ones who read the Old Testament. Not the ones who read the Kabbalah and all the other garbage that they have, but the ones that read the Old Testament. They realize what it costs to follow God. And they marched in the streets with the funeral. And de Blasio said, okay, the time of negotiation is over. And Como supports de Blasio in the arresting of all of the Jews. Remember Nazi Germany, those who forget the past, forget the future. Remember the Soviet Union, when they purged their officer corps of Jews in 1938 and 39, and they were invaded in 1941. And the officer corps had been devastated because they killed the Jews. Remember the Spanish Empire as they began to kill the Jews in 1490, and Christopher Columbus's entire crew, the Ashkenazi Jews, were made up of Jews, and the money to buy the Nina Pinta and Santa Maria to go discover Puerto Rico or wherever Christopher Columbus went, that money was the money they stole from the Jews. And remember George Soros, who went in after the Nazis killed the Jews and stole all the money and jewelry that the Jews had. And now he's got organizations all over the world to create incredible weapons to kill humanity. This is what the Nazis do. They're in league with Lucifer. And Lucifer said they want to remove the human race from planet Earth, to have a savage initiation, slowly starve us to death as we die on the streets. And then we die and do an out-of-body experience. That's what the United Nations is calling for. That's what every leader of every media network is calling for. Jane, who was it who said, I want to come back as a bug? Bill Gates, and then obliterate humanity? These people are evil to the core. I don't even think they're human. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg's walking around. I had an adrenochrome high, and by God, that's the best human experience I've ever had. Zuckerberg's a walking, talking demon. So's Bill Gates. So's Amazon, Jeff Bezos. They're all walking, talking demons. They can't get within 100 feet of me. They run like dogs. So, how do we get to this point? How do we get to the point where the United States is sailing a ship way down here in the southern Philippine Islands and China routs them out yesterday? How do we get to the point where China is ready to start a massive war from the Democratic Party and destroy the rest of the world? How do we get here? How do we get to the point? Let's go back in history, because everywhere in America, history is just like it happened yesterday. Like when I stayed in Russia, they all remember the American, British, and French invasion here. And they all remember the American, British, and French invasion on both sides of the Russian coast. They all remember the Ukrainian revolt, which ended up starving to death millions of Ukrainians, that was supported by the United Kingdom, and the overthrow of the Tsar Alexander by the people in London, as they stole their gold and gave it to Chase Manhattan over here, which we owe them all those tons of gold. Well, we're going to go back a little bit. China opened up its trade. The English landed in America, started taking the old growth wood, built some incredible ships, and went around the Horn and started trading with China. And China began to send out armies to protect the Silken Road, to go from China through I call it Afghanistan, which Trump is removing all the troops from, by the way. He says, Bush, you want to sell your we're not protecting you anymore. All the way to Europe to sell their silk and spices. Okay, well, in 1727, the evil Queen of England, because they kept killing the kings, the evil Queen of England saw the silver was flowing into China in mass quantities to buy the silk and the spices. So in 1727, she sent, what's the English company? It's in Canada. It's a trading company that England has. Well, they started growing Afghanistan opium and going right through India and around here in Malaysia and into China. And then the silver started flowing back into the United Kingdom. Well, the Qing, the Qing dynasty, was at the time in power, and the Chinese revolted against the opium. And so 8 different nations, the United States, Germany, Austria, England, there were 4 other nations that occupied Beijing. It was Peking at the time. And then they began, Hudson Bay Company was merely a wing of the English military to control the world. Hudson Bay Company, we almost had a war here called the Pig Wars because of the freaks in England. And Captain Pickett was in charge of the American forces. And the British had 2 men of war with about 500 men against Pickett's 100 men. And Pickett wanted to charge. Became General Pickett of the Civil War. This is all pertinent. And then Randy MacDonald, not Ronald McDonald, was shipwrecked off Japan and opened up Japan in 1862, 1863 to the United States, which is way over here. Anyway, and I went to his grave here in Curlew, Washington, and was offered 20 acres to open a house to cure HIV. So why am I going to Randy MacDonald's grave? Never knew why. Well, Randy MacDonald opened Japan. Well, the Imperial Japan united. China was collapsing. Almost 8 different military powers occupied China, and they had the Boxer Rebellion and more rebellion and more rebellion. Eventually, the Qing dynasty, it died, and the nationalists took over. Remember, Tibet was not part of China at the time. So then, when the Shanghai Shek took over the Russia, now Soviet Russia, set up communist pockets across China, And we had a drought. Remember the Depression? Massive drought in the United States. We farmed for 60 years and didn't give the land rest, so God said, I will give the land rest, and created a drought across the United States, which created the Depression, but the drought first hit across here. And this area is almost 1 million people starved. Chiang Kai-shek took power, and he couldn't control the starving Chinese. So Japan came in, now an imperial power in the 1910s, 20s, and occupied Manchuria and Koreas because they were starving to death. Well, the people welcomed the Japanese in, but then they turned out to be crueler than the Chinese. So China didn't have Tibet, didn't have this region, and Japan occupied this region. In the meantime, the United Kingdom was still shipping stuff from Afghanistan into China to steal their gold. Well, Chiang Kai-shek put an end to that, and he was just a puppet of the United States, and then they had a war, Japan invaded, World War II, yada, 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 yada. China got its country back, and in 1949 became communist. Well, the only way China can hold itself together, it learned, is to be total totalitarianism. Because the people in Tibet think different than the people in China. So they've been massacring people in Tibet. They've been massacring, similar to what the Nazis did in World War II. You know, they didn't like the Jews, so they put them in concentration camps. They didn't like the Soviets or the Polish. World War II was actually started when Poland declared war on Germany. Was it 27 August 1939, and Germany then invaded Poland on the 3rd of September, and took them a month to overrun it, and then Russia came in, and Poland was split in half, and Russia had half, and Germany had half. And because Poland declared war on Germany, France and the United Kingdom also declared war on Germany. Then we had the Tripartite Act. Germany, Italy, and Japan unified. Okay, so we had a world war. Took a long time to win it. Our technology was never used. We fired radar at planes, and they all came tumbling down, so we pulled the radar off. We pulled that radar off the market. So, so this is where we are with the New World Order, and the New World Order has increased the. I'm sorry, there's little Afghanistan right here, little itty bitty Afghanistan. I'm sorry, this is Kazakhstan, and the Kazakhstans have had wars with Russia for hundreds of years. So here's little Afghanistan. They go through Pakistan, and they go through India, and then they've been selling it to China to get the world's gold and silver. Well,
selling what to China?
They've been selling opium. The Bushes took over, and they increased production of opium by 10 times and started stripping the world of its gold, stealing their gold. And so the American troops were moved into Afghanistan because the commander of the Afghanistan forces said everything was going along fine when Bush was in power, and all of a sudden, overnight, everything just turned to, well, he used some pretty strong language. He said rap group. So we had to create a war to go into Afghanistan to increase the opium production. Well, the Bushes, according to Benjamin Fulford, have been terminated. The gold is being returned. And when the United Nations and the League of Nations were set up in San Francisco in 1944 and then moved to New York with, I think it was $12 million from the Rockefeller people, every nation was incorporated. Ours was already incorporated. That sovereignty was held by one man. He's been killed. The sovereignty is being returned to the nations. We can now become a republic. So here we are after thousands of years of history. By the way, why is this region in Wuhan so important? And why is this region in Syria, Idlib, so important? Mara, oh, the name escapes me, Mara and Elba had the very first world war, remember, Noah's Ark, had the very first world war right here. Then we had a Second World War, Third World War. So we're now on World War VI, 666. Because World War II was actually World War V. So we had Napoleon, we had the American Revolution, Napoleon, World War I, World War II. Let's see, the American. Anyway, we're on number 6. We've done that on previous videos. So here we are. China remembers history as if it was yesterday. Now, the Philippines were managing Yangsha Island. And so the Americans say it's just a shoal, there's nothing there. So I went to Yangsha Island, the grid coordinates, here. And it turns out it's a tourist trap for Chinese. And it's a big, huge island that's been painted out on Google. And it has a mountain, and they were digging in that mountain, and the whole mountain is not a volcano. It's a piece of gold. So they're mining, it's like, what was the Lord of the Rings where the dwarfs were mining the gold? It was a mountain of gold, Jane? Mm-hmm. Well, that's Yangsha Island. Scarborough Shoal. Well, China extended, you see here's Taiwan, that's where Shanghai Shek moved in 1949 with most of China's gold. China says these waters all the way through the Philippines, all the way in front of Vietnam belong to us because they want Spratly Shoal. They want that island of gold. So they can rule the world because they think about 10 years ago, England industrials, which run America, because remember we have the two fobs hanging down, so all the lawyers work for England, and all the industrialists work for England, the Pilgrim Society. They offered for me to open up a chapter, but I will not be initiated by Lucifer. So about 10 years ago, they started lending China trillions of dollars to the Federal Reserve System and to the New York Federal Reserve Bank. And now the loans are all due. They're all due, and then 20 million people bought the new 5G phone in Wuhan, which is the center of civilization, the earliest civilization in China right here, and then along the coast, not up here, Peking, Beijing, but here, and then 20 million people died because the 5G phones went poof, killed them all. That's Benjamin Fulford. So as for the bioweapons lab funded through Washington, D.C., the NIH funds about 100 of them. They all get about $500 million a year. That's what Fauci is supposed to do, distribute the money. That's why he's next to the president. The president wants to know where they're putting all the money. So they're all over the former Soviet Union. But anyway, now, so China's angry because they were promised that those loans wouldn't come due, Jane. And then the Rockefellers and the Rothschild pulled in the loans and said, pay up. So China said, what? What do you mean pay up? You promised us money to fund the Democratic Party, those who worship Lucifer, Sieg Heil, the Nazis. So China's made a tripartite with the Nazis in Europe and the Nazis in America, the Democratic Socialist Party, to destroy America and break the Soviet Union up and shatter the European economy. They don't care about Africa, just kill them all. This is the way they think in China. They're rounding up the blacks and removing them from China right now. Did you know that, Jane? Yeah. And they've killed all the Christians because the Christians will fight them. So they've killed most of the Tibetans. So that's why the Dalai Lama came here to Nepal and northern India. Now Pakistan is attacking India because they want that region of India. China's attacking this region of India. It's just a freaking mess. China's creating a mess for everybody. We have a friend from Cambodia, and God bless her soul, she says China's been a menace and created hell in Cambodia since she was a child. It's been China that has been screwing with all these nations because they want to become a world power. They support the United Nations, but they don't give them any money. We have to give them 80% of their budget. So anyway, now you know what's going on in the world geographically. Australia, that's a sideshow for China now. They're sending mass migration of their prisoners to Australia, to Vancouver, and the whole West Coast as our economy collapses. We get the cream of the crop. We're getting all the immigrants from around the world that were out of prison. It's a joke in St. Petersburg, Russia, which this region runs all of Russia, just like London runs the entire United Kingdom. So we're getting, it's a joke. You can wander the streets of St. Petersburg because we sent all our prisoners to America. All this cream of the crop we're getting. And you know what? We've got a Muslim takeover in the northeastern region of America right now. And in this region. Because Trump has not sent them home. The Muslims want to destroy America and put in their own Sharia law, which means they're in violation, Trump's in violation of the Constitution. Obama was in violation of the Constitution. The United States corporation is in violation of the Constitution. They're bankrupt. And when President Trump sends them back to their country, when he does as God asks him to do, his cancer will go away and his family will stop being hunted down. I'm a messenger. I like him. He's trying to do something, but he's doing it his own way. It ain't working. Anyway, now you know what's going on in the rest of the world, and I put this in my coffee. We put it in our fried rice yesterday. Oh my God, it's flavorless, and it does incredible things. God bless. Thank you very much. Pray for his safety. Pray that he grows the gonads, the stones below the belt, to do as God asks him to do so he and his family can be safe. And pray that they catch the nuke going into D.C. on 11th of May. The NSA contacted Fulford, knew something was going on. Well, we'd already reported on exactly what was going on. There'll also be an attempt to shoot President Trump from the mob. But I think that'll be pretty well squashed by some of the Secret Service. Same day, 11th of May. God bless. Thank you very much. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow.